Her phone rang at 2:47 a.m. She answered on the first ring. She always did. Hello? Silence. Then a breath, wet and slow, like air moving through water. Is someone there? She asked. A man's voice, barely above a whisper. I didn't think you'd pick up. I always pick up, Mara said. What's your name? Edmund. Hi, Edmund. I'm here. Take your time. That call would last 41 minutes. By the end of it, Mara would know something that would fracture her world clean in half. But we'll get there. First, you need to understand who Mara is and why a dying stranger had her personal number at 2:47 in the morning. Mara Callahan had worked the night shift at Cedarview Hospice for 11 years. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. She had watched more people die than she could count. Not because she'd stopped paying attention, but because at some point, the numbers stopped being useful. What she noticed instead were the patterns, the way a person's breathing changes in the final hours, the way they reach for something that isn't there, the way their face, which has spent decades arranged into expressions for other people, finally goes slack and becomes just a face. And the way, more than anything else, they wanted to talk. The first time Mara gave out her personal number, it was an accident. A retired carpenter named Roy, no family listed, no visitors in 2 weeks. She'd been scribbling her grocery list on a napkin when he asked if she had a phone he could borrow to call his daughter. She won't answer, he said, but I'd like to try. She handed him her cell. He dialed. It rang 7 times. He handed it back without leaving a message. 3 nights later, she found the napkin on his bedside table. He'd written her number on it from memory. He called at 4 a.m. She picked up. For 2 hours, he told her about a tree house he'd built when his daughter was 6, the wrong kind of wood, bad joints, the whole thing rotted inside a year. He never built her another one. I kept meaning to, he said. Roy died before sunrise, and Mara sat in the break room afterward and understood, in a way she hadn't before, that what he'd needed wasn't a doctor or a chaplain or even his daughter. He just needed someone to be on the other end of the line. If you're new here, this channel is where we tell the stories that stay with you. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming, because this one gets darker before it gets human. After Roy, the practice became intentional. Mara bought a second phone, cheap, prepaid, kept it charged on her kitchen counter. She only left the number with patients who had no family contacts in their file, no visitors in the last 7 days. She tucked it under their water glass or inside a small card she wrote herself. Some never called. Some called once and hung up without speaking. A few called every night until they couldn't anymore. She kept a journal, not medical records, just first names and one line. Roy, treehouse. Helen, the student she didn't report. James, a medal that wasn't his. Carol, a baby she left in another state in 1973. Frank, he laughed the whole time. Said he had nothing to confess. She didn't tell anyone at work. It wasn't against any rules she could name. She wasn't sharing patient information, wasn't making promises she couldn't keep. She was just answering her phone. What she'd learned over 41 calls was this: almost no one regrets what they did. They regret what they didn't say. And the last word on almost every person's lips, when the filters were gone and the time was short, was a name. Someone they'd loved, someone they'd failed, sometimes both. Edmund Hale arrived in her ward on a Tuesday, 79 years old, late-stage lung cancer. No listed family, no visitors. Mara read his file in the break room, then tucked her number under his water glass before her rounds. He didn't call that night or the next. On the third night at 2:47 a.m., her phone buzzed. She answered. He introduced himself. His voice was formal, almost stiff, the voice of a man who had spent a lifetime being precise. I apologize for the hour, Edmund said. Don't. That's what the number's for. I have something I need to say before I go. I've held it for 38 years. A pause. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need it to be heard. I'm listening, Mara said. There was a fire, Edmund said. 1986, a building on Carver Street. 2 men died. Mara's hand tightened on the phone because she knew that fire. She had grown up with that fire. It had lived in her house like a third parent. Quiet, heavy, always present. But she didn't say anything. Not yet. She let him speak. I was the foreman for the company that owned the building, Edmund continued. 3 months before the fire, one of my guys filed a hazard report. Faulty wiring in the east stairwell. I buried it. Why? Mara asked. Her voice was steady. She didn't know how. Cost, timeline, politics. I told myself it would get handled in the next inspection cycle. His breath rattled. It didn't get handled. The two men who died, Mara said carefully. Do you know their names? A pause. Patrick Callahan and his son, Daniel. The room tilted. Patrick Callahan was her uncle. Daniel was her cousin. Daniel had been 19 years old. Mara set the phone on the counter, pressed both palms flat against the laminate, and breathed. Stay with this story. Like the video, it helps more people find it. Thank you. She picked the phone back up. Are you still there? Edmund asked. I'm here. I've thought about those two men every day for 38 years, he said. I have a family, children. I told myself, if I came forward, I'd lose everything, and it wouldn't bring them back. I know how that sounds. It sounds like something a person tells himself, Mara said. A long silence. Yes, he said quietly, it does. Did anyone ever look into the cause of the fire? The investigation ruled it accidental. Faulty wiring, undetermined origin. The report I buried was never found. No one ever knew there was a warning. His voice cracked for the first time. No one except me. Mara looked at the wall. On the other side of it was the ward. On the other side of the ward was Edmund's room, bed 4, window facing the parking lot. Her father was still alive, 71 years old, lived alone, still had a photograph of Patrick and Daniel on his mantle. He'd stopped talking about them years ago, not because he'd moved on, but because the grief had gone so deep it no longer needed words. What would it do to him to know this? What would it do to him to not know? Edmund, she said, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Why did you call this number? How did you find it? The nurse left it, he said. Under my water glass. That nurse, Mara said slowly, is me, and my last name is Callahan. The silence that followed was the longest of the call. Oh God, Edmund whispered. I'm Patrick's niece. Daniel was my cousin. I was 7 years old when they died. She heard him breathing, ragged, labored, real. I didn't know, he said. I swear to you, I did not know. I believe you, she said, and she did. That was the strangest part. She believed him completely. She didn't sleep when she got home that morning. She sat at her kitchen table with her journal open to a blank page and couldn't write a single word. Every other call, she'd known exactly what to do with what she'd been given. She held it, she witnessed it, she wrote it down, and she let it live in the book where it couldn't hurt anyone. But this wasn't someone else's story. She thought about her father. She thought about Edmund in his bed, probably awake too, staring at the parking lot. She thought about the 19-year-old version of Daniel that she could only ever remember in fragments. His laugh, the way he'd let her sit on his shoulders at parades, the smell of the jacket they'd buried him in. She thought about the report, buried, never found. A decision made in an office somewhere by a man trying to protect his quarterly numbers, by a man who was now dying 4 rooms away from her. The next night, Mara didn't wait for Edmund to call her. She went to his room. He was awake. She'd known he would be. He turned his head when she came in. In the low light, he looked smaller than his file suggested. Just an old man in a bed, running out of time. She pulled a chair to his bedside and sat down. You came, he said. I came. I understand if you want to. I'm not here to hurt you, she said. I'm not here to forgive you either. I just have one question. He nodded. Did you ever try to make it right? Edmund looked at the ceiling. After the investigation closed, I set up an anonymous account, paid for both funerals, contributed to the education funds for Patrick's kids, made donations every year on the anniversary. He closed his eyes. I know that's not. It's not, she said, but I'm glad you did it. They sat in silence for a while. Not an uncomfortable silence, something more like the silence at the end of a long argument when both people are too tired to keep fighting and realize they might actually be on the same side. What will you do? Edmund asked. With what I told you. Mara thought about her father, about what it would mean to hand him 38 years of answered questions, and 38 years of knowing someone had the answer all along. I don't know yet, she said honestly. I'm sorry, Edmund said. I've said it in my head 1,000 times, but I've never said it out loud to anyone who had the right to hear it. Mara looked at him. This man who had made a decision in an office in 1986, a quiet and ordinary act of negligence, and had carried it so long it had become part of his skeleton. "I hear it," she said. She didn't take his hand, but she stayed. She stayed until his breathing slowed and his eyes closed and the room filled with the particular quiet that she knew better than almost anything. Edmund died 4 days later. Mara wasn't on shift. She heard about it the next evening when she came in. She went to the break room, opened her journal to a fresh page, and wrote 2 words. Then she closed the book. She pulled out the prepaid phone, checked the admissions from the last 48 hours. There was a new patient on the ward, 74 years old, no listed family, no visitors. Mara took out a card, wrote her number on it, slipped it into her pocket. The phone on the counter sat quiet, waiting. It always rang eventually. If this story made you feel something, that's the whole point. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you're here for the next one. And tell me in the comments, do you think Mara should tell her father? I want to know where you land on that. I'll see you next time.